Welcome back to another edition of the Pear Genius podcast. Today, we have our very special guest, Guy Barretta, in the house from the COO Guy.com. Of course, Kati is joining me, bringing her magic as well. And I got some cool questions up my sleeve as well today. I'm not just going to be a pretty face. So, yeah, we're just going to dive right into it. And I just encourage everybody to check out the COO Guy.com and reach out to Guy if anything strikes a chord with you and you want to connect. So, welcome to the Pear Genius podcast, Guy.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I know we kind of connected a few weeks ago just to learn a little bit about each other. So this is exciting for me. So thanks for having me.
For sure. It's always fun to have people on and meet new people. And for us, this is a great way to meet new people and connect. And because we're kind of like Canadian hermits, and this is just it's just a cool exercise for us. It gives us a chance to flex our extrovertedness, even though we're not in person, but it's still a good time. And
Yes,
yeah,
I like
so
the Canadian hermits.
the Canadian hermits, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So when did you start the COGuy.com?
So I started my company, Barretta Consulting, in 2023. I had come out of a situation where I was a chief operating officer for a small to medium-sized business, and I just saw a need for the opportunity to work with all other small to medium-sized businesses, with my niche being real estate brokerages, franchisees, and businesses in the $1 to $50 million range that probably need that opportunity to work with somebody who's an operations manager or chief operating officer, but don't have the wherewithal, the time, or the financial wherewithal to make that commitment. So that's really why I started Barretta Consulting. And obviously the website is the COOguy.com. And there I share tidbits and talk about what's going on from the world of operations and how I can potentially be a benefit to organizations as a fractional COO coming in and working on a set price per month and set amount of hours and giving you the guidance to lead to move forward and really work towards strategy and growth of your organization.
Amazing. So the thing is, when somebody comes into my sphere, and I know that we're going to be talking about branding a little bit, I try to drop into the energy and I'm thinking, how can I best serve? How can I help showcase your superpower to other people, your genius? And then so I noticed that your business is called Beretta Consulting, but you've chosen the COO guy as your URL. So not a lot of people do that. Usually it would be berettaconsulting.com. So
Correct.
why the COO guy?
Great question. And by the way, Barretta Consulting, if you type that in, we'll go to that website too. But I
Perfect.
felt that I just needed something that separated myself, right? Barretta Consulting, like who really cares about Barretta Consulting? And I know that sounds terrible, but I love my name. That doesn't mean other people love my name. But the COO guy just resonates. It's something that I can articulate pretty quickly. It's something that really resonates on LinkedIn, and it just becomes my tagline. And I think for small businesses, like I'm a solopreneur, right? What am I? I'm a solopreneur. I'm in entrepreneurship for the first time. And I think you need that aspect of branding that separates you from other individuals that are in your space or in complementary spaces. So when you're talking to me, you know that I'm someone that looks at operations and I'm someone that really wants to dive into what your business is today and what it could be. And let me tell you something, if I come into your organization, I work with you, where you are today is going to be a lot different than where you're going to be in 3 to 5 years, because I'm going to help you get to a place that you never thought you'd be able to get to before.
That's amazing. I love that. So I was driving on my way to yoga this morning and I saw a license plate in front of me and it was a really cool license plate. And right away I'm like picturing who the person inside must be and what it would be like to interact. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's just like your URL where somebody sees the link for your website and they're already thinking about who is this guy, the COO guy. That sounds cool.
Yeah,
And then they land on your website. And if your website is not in line with the COO guy feel, people are either bouncing or like it's somewhat
correct.
of a letdown. So how do you bring and the other thing that's so great too is the COO guy because your name is Guy. What an amazing play on words. Like
It's a
that's
pretty
quite
good, yeah.
ingenious.
I
I
mean,
missed
I
that.
love
I
that.
missed that.
I like to think I have a marketing aspect to who I am. I don't, but I just thought that really resonated, right? So my name is Guy Barretta, and growing up, everybody's like, "Oh my God, that's a great '70s detective name," and or you sound like a bouncer or yeah, exactly. And it doesn't hurt that there was a show in the 80s, crime drama called Beretta. So,
Great
you know,
show.
so everybody always had this aspect of what my name was, but now I'm able to do that, right? I am the COO guy, and that's the play on words right there. And I just hope it resonates. And I get a lot of comments on it, and I appreciate that. And I really try to make my website resonate about who I am and what I'm trying to accomplish for your business, and also focusing on the fact that I do public speaking as well, or that's a foray that I'm trying to get back into. I did it, took a little bit of a hiatus, and I'm trying to get back in. But my goal is to look at a different angle from an operations perspective and to show others what I can either do for your business or give you the insight that you could take away and implement in your business.
Right. And
Yeah,
so because you have the URL, the COO guy, that puts you front and center in your brand, right? It's not, oh, I have this big consulting team with me. I'm the COO guy. It's me, right?
Cool.
Like you're front and center, you're a solo guy. So I think that you showing up as authentically as possible is like the most important thing because you positioned yourself as the face of the brand. You are the brand. So when I was going through your site, I'm looking and I'm like, why don't I know more about this guy? Huh? And then I was like, okay, well, let me read the testimonials because testimonials will tell you about that personal relationship. But I didn't see the testimonials. So where are the testimonials? What's going on? Where's Guy?
So my website is a work in progress, right? So we're always adding, we're always taking away. And the first part was I wanted to showcase the services that I offer. But yes, the testimonials are they're next. And there's also going to be, I just recorded one of my public speaking presentations. So that's coming next. So I think from any entrepreneur or solopreneur, you can't just have a website and say, okay, I got it up there. That should be something you're tinkering with as well and working and improving every single day. And even with the clients I work with, one of the things that we do a deep dive into is their website. What is their presence? What does the public see when they come to your website? And it should be a reflection of who you are, your values, your culture, and what you want to do for others. And so you're 100% right. I don't have any testimonies yet, but I'm going to have some, and I hope to get those on the website.
one of the things that we love about the testimonials is in within those testimonials, they highlight your genius zone or your superpower and they advertise it for you. So the last few cases that we've gone through, anytime we've been stumped, we've gone to the testimonials and it's like, "Oh wow, there it is. There's the person's magic that they brought to that organization or to that individual client." And yeah, I just think that they're so valuable. So and you're always pulling at my heartstrings with the URLs and with the SEO stuff because I'm a total SEO nerd. And I love the fact that you are understanding that the website needs to keep getting updated
Correct.
and all these things need to keep it can't just be like the 1997 where it's this stagnant thing. It's a living, breathing document of who you are in your business and
100%. So it's funny you bring up 1997 because in 1997, my second job out of college was working for Microsoft, and they
oh,
had a project called Microsoft Sidewalk, and Microsoft Sidewalk was the first city guide, online city guide for small businesses. I just wrote about this on LinkedIn, but essentially we were creating static 4 to 5 page websites for small businesses in New York City. So if you're a restaurant, I would come in and say, any interest in being on the internet and having a 4 page website created for you, or if you were a club, or if you were a bodega, or the museums, and they didn't even know what the internet was in
right,
1997. So I'm trying to
right.
sell them on something that it what will be, right? And
This imaginary place.
yeah, and now here we are. It's not that long ago, like, right? It's not that long ago. Here we are 25 years later, 28 years later, and now we have these breathing organisms known as websites that have video, can monitor you, follow you around. We're incorporating AI into these websites, and what was and what we are in just 28 years is it's just overwhelming. I remember in 1996, I had a cell phone. It was about this big. My company gave me a cell phone. But if I got on the bus in the morning to go to New York City if there was 45 people on the bus, I was the only one with a cell phone.
Right.
And now no one, you can't leave. I don't know if you can see it, but you can't leave home without this, right?
Right.
So
Yep.
I remember it was such a big flex to have your cell phone ring in public. It's like, oh, hey, let me just answer my cell
it may
phone.
have been me.
And,
I was
and
24 years old. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world.
by 2003, I was like, man, I'm so done listening to people's ringers in public. It's like,
Yeah,
come
yeah,
on, man,
yeah.
put that thing on vibrate like a normal human, and
And
nobody
then in
cares about
2000,
your
and then in
ringtone.
2003, 2004, I had the small cell phone, right? And now we're back to the bigger. I was like the small Motorola or something,
Yeah, the
and now we're
razors.
up to big phones. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I love those smaller phones. I had a slider. Katia had a razor. We were
yeah,
rocking the early 2000s. We knew what we were doing.
exactly.
Well, speaking of technology and advancements, AI and its role in our businesses is really increasing extremely fast. And we've gotten to a point now where you can't ignore it. And if you're choosing not to work with it, it's kind of to your detriment. So, with the rise of AI, we're also asking for the rise of human because you don't want it to kind of take off without us. We want to still be the ones who are guiding and in control. So that means that there is a deepening required of humans. So, in your own business, when you're using AI, how are you bringing your deepened version of yourself so that you're kind of leading more with heart than anything else? Because that's something that AI can't copy.
Yeah, it's a pretty intense dilemma because you have to really you have to focus on really trying to articulate. So I guess I'll take a step back. I use ChatGPT and I use AI for writing, for ideation, for scaling, for th trying to figure out how to get to the next step in certain aspects. And you can't just utilize it and take it and say, oh, this is what it is and implement it. You really got to put thought into it. It kind of gives you like a guideline, and then you got to come back and really hone in on what you're really hoping it says and trying to figure out what it's bringing to the table. But we see it, right? We see on LinkedIn, there's individuals that are just using AI chats to connect with you or AI to bring something in to write the article. And sometimes it's good content, other times it's just not good content. And you have to, it has to come from here, right? It has to come from
Mhm.
your heart. People want to hear true stories. People want to know examples. People want to see what you've done, right? Testimonials. And that's all things that come in
From people. Yeah.
from people and not necessarily AI. AI
Exactly.
is crazy. AI is crazy. And I think when you look at it, we're only a year in, right? 15 months into AI, and we're only scratching the surface. I mean, I don't know how far AI can go in terms of what it's going to try to do for us and move beyond.
Yeah, so one of my I feel like right now my mission, what I'm supposed to be doing is helping people connect with themselves so that they can prompt ChatGPT in the most authentic way possible so that when you're appearing out there in digital world that you are actually still appearing in the essence of you. So something that AI can't duplicate is your essence. So what your heart, Guy, tell us about your heart. What is in your heart? What do you love? What is your passion?
I always go back and I always say there's two types of chief operating officers. There's the chief operating officer that works for a company and he's there to make sure everything just runs smoothly. If there's an issue, he fixes or she fixes or tinkers and fixes the issue. And then there's the chief operating officer that wants to work with the executive team to really build something. I'm a builder. I'm a risk taker by trade. I talked about Microsoft Sidewalk. I started my career outside of ADP, which is a Fortune 500 company, my first job out of college. I started and worked for startups. Some were good, some were terrible. And then I got into real estate, which is a real up and down slope.
Sure.
So for me, it's about working with individuals and help them build something, become the better version of themselves. And typically, if an owner becomes the better version of themselves, that means the business is a better version of what they could ever have imagined. And getting out of the mundanity of the day to day for business owners is really difficult. And I love when I can help them get out of that. And from a personal perspective, I'm passionate about, I love sports. I'm a sports junkie. It's probably baseball and football are my one and two, but I love watching my kids play. I loved having the opportunity to coach my kids for so many years. And it's a draining aspect of our life because it takes up so much time, but there is no greater feeling than watching your child play a sport, whether they succeed or fail. It's just really awesome. And I'm really passionate about that. And I'm passionate about youth sports. In town here, I'm the sponsorship director or director of fundraising for our local youth sports organization and for baseball. And my role is to help attain sponsorships and bring money in so that we could spend money on the program and give scholarships to children that don't have the opportunity to even get a baseball bat, right? They're so expensive now. And I love that.
Wow.
That's
Oh my
amazing.
goodness. You said so many things that are so in resonance. What I love about the overarching, if I just pull back and I'm thinking, okay, what is it? What am I leaning into here? It's the sense of community. It's the people you surround yourself by. We have become a little bit detached post COVID from our communities and people. And that was like a big jarring experience. And now we're trying to feel our way back into community. And somebody who understands how important it is to have support around you would be the absolute person I would want to come in and help me with my business because it is about the people, it's about the team, it's about the dynamics and the support. So leading with that in everything that you do, I think would weave your heart into things so perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, I get involved. A fractional COO more so than others. It's more of a long-term aspect to the role as opposed to just coming in and consulting on a project and then segueing out. My role is to get you to a point where you're doing so well that you say, see you later, guy. Now I could bring a real COO in, a full-time COO. And to me, that's what resonates and keeps me going. But I am I'm an extrovert by trade. My friends and my family are important to me. They're very important to me. I'll talk to anybody. Being a solopreneur and having a home office kind of stinks. I don't invite me to your office, please. Like, I don't like working from home. I even got a flex space so that I had an office to go to, right? And so many people got so used to working from home during COVID, right? But there's something to be said about going out and interacting and being part of the community. I love my town. I love the people that are part of my town. I love where I grew up, and I'm very fortunate in that. And the one thing I would say to the two of you, and for anybody that's listening, I know that you two do give back, but if you're in business and you don't give back and you're not dedicating, and it doesn't have to be money, like dedicate your time, dedicate this, your brain, dedicate your experiences. Like, what are you really doing in life if you're not giving back? And and everybody's so quick to chase the almighty dollar, but there's a lot of people that just want to pick your brain. And even business owners, like I'm a fractional COO, but I give them that aspect of someone that they could reach out to and talk to at any given time and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And because I'm going to tell you right now, if it's not me, it's probably their spouse, and their spouse or a significant other or partner are probably sick of hearing the stories. So push it on me. Let's strategize. Let's talk it through.
Yeah, I think it's super important to share your gifts with the world, to not just cocoon yourself. And I think that you actually do the world a disservice when you do that. To go out into your community, to donate your time, to donate your gifts, your talents. Your donating your talents is probably more valuable than donating money, even because I
I
feel
agree.
like,
I 100% agree on that.
yeah, like what you're doing for your community baseball team with your gifts is probably more valuable than if you donated $1,000.
I
Uh,
agree. I mean, 5 years ago when I started in the role, I started a golf outing that we do every year. And it's become a mainstay in the town, right? And 50 to 80 golfers show up on that day. And it's a lot of work on my part. It's a lot of work, but I love it. And everybody that comes back to me just says, thank you for putting this together. They appreciate it. And it raises money for Scotch Plains Fanwood Baseball. And it's become who I am. And it's something that just allows me to give a little bit back to the community. And all it is really time. 6 o'clock at night, do I have 2 hours to work on the golf outing, right? Sometimes
All it
during
is, but that's your most valuable resource.
it
So,
really is. It is.
right?
It is. Yeah.
but
All it
we waste
is.
it
But
watching Netflix, don't we?
Yeah. I think we ran out of stuff to watch on Netflix. I don't know.
Yeah, I got to
probably
switch
for
over to
the better.
Disney.
Probably
Yeah.
for the better. Yeah. I mean, And there's an individual that I follow. He says it's amazing how much work you can get done while you're watching TV, though. If you're just like have something on in the background and you're just working on your computer, but it's important to like level set with yourself too and say, okay, like I got to be shut down at 6 o'clock, or it's family time at 6 o'clock, or something of that nature. And that's very
Hmm.
difficult.
100%. Yeah, boundaries, especially when you're a solopreneur and you're running your own business, you have to set those boundaries. Now, take Alex and I, who not just are married, but we work together. So now there's an extra set of boundaries of when are we allowed to talk about work? When do we kind of put that away and focus on us and our family? And so, yeah, those boundaries are really important.
So I do have a question about that. Like, so if you have a date night, like, are you talking business, or are you setting a boundary that we're really not going to talk work right now?
So
I'm
my wife
curious.
trained me early on. Back when I used to work for Manitoba Hydro, I would come home and I was an electrician and I would tell her these crazy stories. And after a while, she was like, "No, I can't do this. They're too scary. Like, how many times did I almost die, or how many times was there an explosion or a fire and we had to go?" Basically, I was this like superhero that she didn't want to know nothing about. If I walk, as soon as I leave that door, as long as I come home, that's all that matters. So it was so, I'm so trained to not talk about work with her that I mean, we really only talk about work when we're working. And if we go out for dinner, I don't know. We're kind of a cool couple that we talk about our interests, we talk about travel, we talk about our goals, we talk about what's going on inside of us. That's actually a really interesting thing. It's because I mean, how many of us just kind of keep things inside and
Right.
we do I feel like me and Kati, we do such a good job of kind of spilling our guts whenever we have a chance that negative things don't really build up. And I think that's one of the secrets of our marriage.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, I would say that's one
You
of
know,
our accidental superpowers.
I think what the other thing I would add to that is there has become the line between our professional and personal life is really blurred because the work that we're doing now is not just building websites and branding. We're providing transformational spaces for people to reconnect with themselves. So I would do that. That's personal and it provides some amount of income for us. So that line is blurred and we go on trips for the purpose of kind of reconnecting with our own purpose. And it's always tied together. So we just have this soul contract where one of us elevates and the other comes with us, right? Like it's like there's
Right.
no separation anymore.
And one of the things too, where our projects, I don't know, I don't want it to sound cheesy, but we care about the people that we work with. And it's like we're passionate about it. So if we're talking about it, we're talking as if how are we going to help this friend get to where accomplish their mission and those things? Because I mean, we don't do 1,000 websites a year. We do 10 to 15. That's it.
Right.
So every website that we do is extremely important to us and it's important to the people that we're doing it for. So that's one of the things that is separates us from others too.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things I was going to ask you, Guy, because as far as KP design goes, I got really good at the sales and the maybe not the marketing, but the sales I'm really good at for KP design. And I noticed that once the sales started going through the roof and we started getting busier, like sun up to sundown, working like crazy, things going, I noticed that the operation side took a huge hit. And that's one of the things I want to talk to you about is you kind of master one thing and then you realize you're kind of bleeding out the back end when you're kind of trying to scale, but you don't understand. And I would say I didn't understand the operations aspect, and I could say a lot of people are probably in the same boat as me that just because you have a whole bunch of new clients doesn't mean that you're making a ton more money. It's
Right.
your costs go up and things like that. So I kind of want to bounce some ideas off of you with respect to how you help people with those things.
It's something you see quite often is that the sales start to outpace operations or the back end or what can be done. And the reality is you get into a position where I'm not saying this is necessarily the position the two of you are in, but I've been in businesses and working with businesses where the sales team starts to have animosity for the operations and the production team, and you never want to get to that point. They're pointing at each other. And
Oh, she's gotten mad at
but
me a few times. Why are you selling so much? Stop it. Slow down.
yeah, and there is a reality that comes to that, and you really have to almost have like a format in place, right? So Monday.com and some of the tools and tech stacks that they have to really just see how you're progressing. So both sides of the business is talking to each other is a great tool that you could utilize. And even in the same breath, like when I come into a company from an operations perspective, I usually do a SWOT analysis, right? Which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and just to see where they are. And most of the time, sales is okay, but it is the back end that needs the tinkering to try to figure out how to become more operationally efficient. And one of the things that we sometimes do is even look at the marketing, and everybody can says, I mean, I do great at marketing, but how many people really go into a year with a marketing plan? Right? You don't typically
Mhm.
go into it. I guess some do, but I've been in many businesses that didn't, they're just spending money on marketing without a plan in place. And that's just throwing money out there and not knowing what the return is. So, from an operations perspective, I think you have to do the same thing and have an operational plan in place. Start there. Like, what does your operations team need to be successful? And what can you on the sales side do to complement that? And vice versa, right? And once you're talking to each other or both sides are talking to each other, you can find that middle ground that allows both of you to be successful in your specific realm. And then you're the two of you are unique, right? Because you're the owners of the company. But if I'm working with a company and there's an operations team and there's a sales team, now I'm also including the CEO and saying these are the things that you have to look at, but it's up to you to hold both sides accountable to make sure that they're delivering on what they say they're going to deliver. And oh, by the way, you hired me as the COO or fractional COO to kind of level set with you. And sometimes that's not the easiest conversation, but I'm not an employee, so I'm going to tell you how I think and how I feel, right? And most business owners appreciate that because they don't have the biggest challenge that most business owners have is they don't have that right hand person that just says, "Hey, time out. There's a better way to do this," or they're not, or I know we're doing it this way. We should be doing it this way, or we should cut this out. Like, why are we doing billboards, or why are we still marketing in magazines? And you have to look at all that.
Mm.
And I think
I feel
business
like that's
owners,
where the advantageous or the advantages of having a fractional CEO come in because you're not necessarily saying what they want to hear. You're telling them the ugly truth for the most part.
yes, and it can be tenuous at best, right? Because if I come into an organization that has an operations team in place, not every organization I come into has an operations team, but that operations team is only going to work every day to prove that they're a good operations team. So if something's not going right or hasn't been going right for 3 years, there is no way in heck that they're bringing that up to the CEO to say, "Hey, we've been screwing this up for 3 years." But if I can come in and say, "Hey, they're not bad. They're not bad at what they do. Their focus was on something else. But by the way, we have to pivot and go this route because you're losing money this way." And I'm able to have that conversation. And specifically, if there's not someone in place, right, an operations person in place, then it's just an easier dialogue with myself and the CEO or the business owner or the president to say, "Yeah, look, this is if you want to get to where you want to get to, you have to do this. And let me help you get there. You focus on what you want to focus, but I'll help you get there."
There's an art to the better way to deliver the message. There is an art to that. And I would
There
say
is.
that the secret to our marriage is when my wife hands me a shit sandwich, it's not always pleasant, but there's a reason why our marriage works is she tells me what I don't want to hear, but what I need to hear. And
Right.
there is an art to the delivery so that the person takes it in stride and actually implements it. And then everybody is more successful afterwards.
I agree. I mean, I never thought I was an empathetic person. And I had someone say to me, "You're very empathetic." And I never thought that of myself. And then I kind of did a deeper dive. And when I was the CEO of a small business, I would have employee come to me with an issue, and typically it was an issue with another employee. And instead of just like reacting right away and taking a side or being like, oh, that shouldn't have happened, I listened to both sides and debated on it and then turned around with what I thought made the most sense for that specific instance. So to your point, like you can't, you have to be strong in how you deliver a message and have the right way of delivering that message. But you also have to listen for what someone's saying to you and be empathetic. And there may be a reason that a CEO or a business owner doesn't go down a certain route, or there may be a reason why operations and sales just aren't talking to each other. And it could go back years, right? It could go back to like the operations individual and the sales individual got into a fight at lunch, right? And
Yep.
everybody thought the fight was over, but someone still has a little bit of animosity, right? You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised at what you see. And you got to fight through that and try to figure out what's going on.
People are
That's
people.
part of the passion. That's part of, so what I did drop into, okay, what Guy's energy, and it was like this warmth and strength, and that's exactly how I would deliver that is I can hold space for the strength and the power to deliver the message, but it comes wrapped in this love and this warmth because you're not just coming in and delivering a formula. I mean, yes, you are, but you're saying this is the SWOT analysis and all these things, but I'm also coming in to sense the culture of the company. I want to know why it's not working. It's not just because one part of this formula is messed up, but there's other things involved, like the human aspect, right? There's a human element that also needs to be addressed of. There's conflict or whatever, right? The feeling part of it.
I agree. I mean, I think culture has made or broken companies. And as an as a small business owner, entrepreneur, you want to surround yourself with good people. That doesn't necessarily mean they all have to be yes people. But you really need that person that is thinking like you think. But with the understanding that no employee is going to be as passionate about the business as you are, because this is your baby, this is your revenue, this is what you've created. But if you can get someone that's like 85%, you're really doing a good job. But many business owners don't have that person who is always thinking about scaling and what the next iteration of the company could be. And I think that's frustrating for many small business owners because they think they're going at it alone. And many times they are. And again, the two of you are so unique in that you have each other. But, I've been on podcasts with individuals that are running a small business. And at the end of the day, it's them. It's just them.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And you're coming in and honestly, like the fact that you recognize that Alex and I were different, not just because we're husband and wife running this thing, but I mean, we've had conversations where it's like, wow, we really don't understand the systems and the operations at all. We would love to have a third person come in, but my fear is that person's not going to get us. They're just not going to. We've had coaches come in and out and they're missing the mark because they don't understand the dynamic of us and what we're trying to do and the magic of what we do. But I feel like you would be a person who would understand that because you're coming with this empathy, like empathy for sure.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, it comes back to where are you having the issue and what do we have to do to nip that in the butt, right? And then where do you want to be? And how is this preventing you from getting to where you want to be? And a coach is a little bit different, right? Because the coach is coming in for an hour a week or whatever, and they don't necessarily take the deep dive into your business and try to figure out where the pitfalls are and where the opportunities are. And from that perspective, a coach is a little bit limited. And sometimes a consultant is limited too, because again, the consultant would come in to say, okay, I'm going to put something together for you, and then I'm out. But not having somebody who's with you through the thick and thin, right? The good days and the bad days. We all have the good days and the bad days. And I think that's really someone that you would need because you need someone that just sees the business as you see it, but also can see beyond because they're not necessarily wrapped in the weeds of the day to day.
I would say that a solopreneur can easily get overwhelmed with, let's say you come in and it's like, okay, here's the roadmap and that's it. Now you have to accomplish it, right? Like it's nice to have that partner to actually execute on the plan as well. Like if
Correct.
that solopreneur has to execute everything, that could definitely lead to overwhelm. And basically, they just paid for something that they're not going to do because they're just like, I can't do it. It's too much. They, it's so funny. A lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, they just want to do the thing that they love. They don't realize that they have to stop doing the thing that they love to be the owner of the business eventually.
Yeah, I mean, that's great insight right there. They all got into business for some reason and are in the business that they are doing because they enjoy it and they do love it. But if they're successful, they've built something around what they love. And it's the now what mentality, right? You've built something, you got to monetize it, you have to scale it. And, but you should never lose that passion, right? The minute you're losing that passion, it's like, okay, maybe you should look at an exit strategy instead. But I think the other challenge that, for solopreneurs and small businesses is there's a lot of noise out there, right? If you're on
Hmm.
LinkedIn, you're getting hammered every single day by people saying, "Hey, I got the next greatest lead gen opportunity for you," or I'm going to be your ghostwriter," or "I'll show you how to use AI for content creation." Wow, that's great. But, it's just everybody coming for your money, right? And
Hmm.
you're just like, well, hold on. Like, I need to move the noise out, focus on my 3 or 4 core essentials and focus on that. And I think you guys are doing a really good job of that, probably keeping the noise out. But now it's just a question of taking the business and scaling it both from the sales perspective and the operational perspective to move it into the next phase.
Ooh, those
Yeah,
words terrify me.
she's so
So what does the
funny.
next
Like,
phase look for the two of you? What does the next phase look like?
I would say ideally for me, I would want 2 projects per month. And if I can keep that engine going, 2 projects per month, great. I I mean, I know who the CEO of the company is. She's sitting right over there. And she doesn't like to hand over control. She likes to do the things and eventually she gets tired of doing the things. And then it's like I've killed the golden goose. So the sales department has a real finicky thing to deal with here. It's like, okay, we have to keep money coming. She likes doing this. She doesn't like doing that. We need to evolve. That's been an interesting thing. I would say in the last year, realizing that it's not just about executing websites. It's not just about executing brands. It's getting deeper. It's doing something that most people can't do, where there's a real hidden value in it. Now trying to market that is something else. So we've been playing with this on the podcast. Season 2, we've been really digging into Kati's, I guess, magic, her genius of being able to see the person, see what's inside, and trying to bring that forth, birth that into the new brand so that it actually touches the hearts and souls of people and brings your new clientele because there, like you said, there's so much noise out there. We need to
Yeah.
be a differentiator. We can't just be brainless marketing anymore. We want people that love us and want to share us and tell the world about us. And I would say that should be the same thing for you too. You need people that love you and want to share you with the rest of the world. And that's going to bypass any algorithm. That's going to bypass any marketing. That's going to bypass anything. It's other people's selling of you, of how you've touched their life. I feel like that's that iteration past AI, past anything, the real human behind it. And as Kati said, that we can kind of see that in you just from this little bit here. So that's
Well, I
amazing.
appreciate that. And I think that's key is that the best stewards of who you are the people that you've worked with or people that know you, right? And we're all the same. We're chasing likes and comments on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn, but how many of those people really know you, right? How many know you? And I think something that's interesting that you said, Alex, is that from where you started and where you are now, you've grown, right? How awesome is that? You've grown as a business, but you've grown as individuals, as better business people. I mean, isn't that amazing? Right? Like that's so cool. I mean, I that like
Yeah.
I mean that's what we're all trying to do. We're all trying to grow every single day and be a better version of ourselves. I know I keep coming back to that, but I do believe that. And it's something I say to my kids, like I think I'm a good guy, but I want them to be better than me. Right? They should be better than me. Be better. And I think we all strive for that. But growing as an individual and growing as a business owner, I mean, wow, that's a huge win-win.
Yeah, the hard part is kind of bringing the money part along for the ride. That's my biggest challenge because I could let the websites and the branding go completely. Now, I'm midlife, which means I'm starting this new version of me. It's a deeper version of me. I don't want to just, I know I'm good at the branding. I put beautiful graphics out there, but my contribution now has to do more with sparking the magic and transformation in the individual. And once I really show them that transformation and what they're capable of and the possibility and the potential of their soul branding, I can say that to them and they can go out and hire anybody and get the website and brand. So that's the deepening of my service has is what's changed, and trying to figure out the money part of that is super challenging.
Yeah, and I think, but what you're offering is something that's important because I think whether you like it or not, we're in a world where you have to have this aspect of personal branding. And it's not just for small business owners or fractional or solopreneurs. I mean, it could be for a salesperson who is in a 50-person sales organization, right? What's separating him from someone picking up the call when he calls as opposed to, I mean, how great is it if you call somebody on a cold call and that person's like, wow, I watch you, I follow you on LinkedIn. Like you already have that instant connection and you're there. And I think the personal branding just is something that everyone should try to figure out to some extent to what makes you unique in this crazy world that we live in and what makes you unique in business.
I was going to say, as Guy helps people in the real estate industry with how do you stand out, right? In that aspect alone. Like we've worked with real estate agents, and that's been some of Kati's most creative work, helping these individuals bring out their soul into their brand and then go out and not just sell homes, but be a welcoming person, be somebody that
Correct.
these people can trust to help them sell their home, help them buy a home. Because that's a huge decision.
Biggest
These are
decision you'll ever
important
make.
people. Yeah, these
Yeah.
are important people in your life. And that personal brand is so much more than just Remax or Century 21.
Correct. And I worked when I was COO of a brokerage. I had an agent come to me who wanted to be unique, but she really wasn't putting any effort into being unique. So what did I do? I looked at her and I said, tell me your strengths. Tell me what type of properties do you like to work on? And she said, I like to work on waterfront properties. And we happen to be on the Hudson River. And I said, well, why is that? She's like, well, I'm on the Waterfront Commission. I know everything you need to know about waterfront property on the Hudson River in 3 counties. I said, well, that's your shtick. Like you're the waterfront expert. You need to now market yourself to everybody that either A wants a home on the waterfront or B owns a home on the waterfront and try to figure that out. So she transitioned herself into that, got a huge $2.3 million listing that she sold in like 30 days. It was the largest listing she ever had. And she said, I would have never put two and two together. Now, she was on the Waterfront Commission because she was passionate. We talked about it. She was passionate about it. And sometimes when you're dealing not only with agents, but just individuals, it's what are you passionate about? And how do we build a brand around that and or create a brand? It could be a niche, but it's something that separates you from everybody else and it will make somebody want to pick up the phone to talk to you. And
Yeah.
especially in an industry where you have 2 million in the United States, we have a little over 2 million real estate agents. Why should anybody choose you over somebody else ever?
Right, right. Because I mean, there are a lot of realtors, but there's only one you. So my
Correct.
thing is trying to show people that the thing that makes you unique and special, your superpower, your passion, is not just something you bring to a business, it's something you are leading with in your life. I bet you that your superpower in your business, you're already doing that with your interactions with other people. The thing that you're meant to be doing is healing to your community.
Yeah. I mean, when you're looking at it's your where are you in your life, right? Like what are you involved in, right? What are you doing? And is that something that can elicit your persona, right? Is that who you are? And many agents and many people are like, oh, I just need to get on TikTok and do videos. I need to have a good Instagram page. And yeah, that all helps. But doing TikTok videos of homes that you're showing isn't really building who you are. That's just something that every other agent's doing, and maybe you're doing it a little bit better. So the challenge to your point is how to make them different. And a lot of it comes back to like, well, what are you doing in the community? What are you passionate about over and beyond real estate? And what are you bringing to the table for people that you're working with?
For sure. I was talking about how we've been changing. Like, how have you seen your industry, or you specifically? How have you been growing, and what do you see for the next like iteration for yourself?
It's a great question. I have my business plan, right? And I think I've been affected by the noise a little bit, right? As any entrepreneur. But if we look at fractional first and foremost, it's still kind of new to many people. And the first iteration of fractional is usually fractional COO. No, I take that back. Fractional Chief Marketing Officer.
Okay.
Everybody's looking for a fractional Chief Marketing Officer because nobody wants to pay a CMO. Then you have the fractional CFO. The reason why they have that person is because they're not really sure what a CFO does. And if they're fractional, they kind of maybe can leave them go or whatnot. Fractional chief sales officer, chief revenue officer, which is important because that's the lifeblood of any organization. And then like further down is the fractional COO. And so there's a lot of education and educating in terms of what I do and what I bring to the table and how I'm unique and different than just a consultant. But I think the fractional community is getting larger and larger because at the end of the day, people just don't. First, you have more people coming into the fractional space because people just don't want to work for big companies anymore. And even though I don't really like working from home, there's a lot of people that like to work from home and they don't want to go back into offices when they're being mandated to go back into offices. And you just have a little bit more control of your life and what's going on. So from that aspect, I think there's going to be a bigger push on the fractional world and what's going on. For me personally, I have my niches that I'm looking at. Like I'm looking at franchise real estate brokerages, franchise owners, because a lot of people get into franchising and they are a first-time entrepreneur too, but they think they're getting a business in a box.
Mhm.
And what they're really getting is tool tech, branding, and maybe a territory. The franchisor is not there to teach you how to run the business and how to scale your operations and be what you want to be. And that's where I can come into play. So I'm looking at setting up peer groups for franchisees and then another one for smaller real estate brokerages so that they could actually get together on a monthly basis on a Zoom call and think about and work towards solving for each other and becoming a good community. And then the other thing I'm looking at is monetizing a course on building out an operations platform within your organization. So that's how I'm trying to scale, but it's a lot, right?
Yeah, well, I was going to say that there is probably a huge misconception with franchises. I mean, it's a big upfront investment
It
with
is.
recurring costs. It's like you got to pay the franchise too, and you got to pay the government. You got to pay. It's not guaranteed. I think a lot of people think it's like a guaranteed win. If you get a McDonald's, it's just a license to print money,
Agreed. They do think that. They
right?
do, and it's not.
Right. But if there's somebody like you from the beginning, from the get go, you can help minimize the bleeding on the back end because so many people, I think that's where the inexperience comes from. Just because you're selling and a few things and getting it right, I feel like the operations, if you don't keep an eye on that, you're losing a ton of money on the back end.
They don't know where the money's going, and
Right.
that can be very challenging. I saw a post today about an individual who had a location and it was losing 15,000 a month. And it was losing 15,000 a month for 2 years. And he made mention of the fact that he let one manager go and brought a new manager in, and it pivoted and became where it was making 20,000 a month. But to me, I'm looking at that, I'm like, okay, that's a great story, but what was the different attributes between the two managers? Like,
Right.
what was the separating characteristic that one was losing and one was gaining? And why did it take you so long to replace an individual who is losing 15 times 10 is 175,000 a year?
Yeah, I was
And
going to say like $400,000 in 2 years. Like, how can you afford to lose that?
yeah, exactly. And to me, I don't have the answer to that, but I did ping him. I said, so what were the different characteristics? But yeah, I mean, franchising in general, for the most part, could be a great thing. And if you're the franchisor, it's the best business model ever, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
because it's just a license to print. And You're just trying to sell territories and get more people into the system. But from a franchising perspective, as a franchisee, there's a lot of pitfalls, and you really need to do your due diligence and know your strengths, know what you're good at, and see how you can scale the operations.
If he went to like a McDonald's, like the boss of the franchises, and they had you go to the different franchises, wouldn't that be ideal to on both sides?
So
Everybody would
Alex,
win
that's
then.
so Alex, that's a great point, and I've done that, and they want nothing to do with me.
What's up with that?
It doesn't make sense because I essentially come in and say, I can come in and help scale your two worst franchises. And they
Right,
all have them. Now, that's not to say the franchisers, they do know they have them, but they're putting their head in the sand, right? They only want to talk about their best franchises. They never talk about their worst. But the reality is, if I can come in and help there and get even two, three, or four to scale, they are now in a better place and they will make more money on the back end. And that person is more likely to renew that franchise agreement when it comes up. But it's a little surprising. It's a little bit of crickets. And I didn't think that. I really didn't think that, but that's happening.
Well, that
we
says
should look
more
at that.
about the people. That says more about the people on top than anybody else. That it has to change there. And I think that mindset is what's also screwing up corporate, because people, as you said, this is why you're a genius, because you know that people don't want to be in a large company anymore because the culture is not what needs to be. Like your own personal superpower is not recognized and you're lost in a shuffle of all these people. Now that has to change. There has to be someone that comes in and changes the culture of the company, and that starts with the person on top. So it's the same thing with the people who own the franchises, right? The people, the very person on the top, they
Right.
need to change. Like your education needs to go directly to them. But also, you're a genius because you want to come in and say, okay, there's a mass exodus coming out of corporate America. These people could potentially get into franchising as a business, but they're not sure how to do it. Well, guess what? I'm here to help you make sure that you succeed, right? Like there's an exodus,
Correct.
there's people coming.
Yeah, and there is that aspect to it. I don't think they connect the dots. The franchisors do not connect the dots because they're like, oh, well, we had the franchise there and he's a bad franchise and we'll just get a new franchise there when he fails. But why would you want anybody to fail in business?
Right.
Like if
Right.
they're tied to you and that if that Smoothie King goes out of business or that Tim Hortons, see, Canadian there, this is Tim Hortons.
Very good.
If
We
that
lost the
Tim
Tim
Hortons
Hortons here.
yeah. If that Tim Hortons goes out of business, that's a reflection of your company more so than the franchisee. And they just don't see it that way. We here in the United States, we just had a franchisee that owned like 60 Burger Kings go out of business, go bankrupt. Like how does that happen? How does
Right.
Burger King allow that to happen? And I mean, I would be pulling out all the stops and if you pull out the stops and you help and you save, that person's more loyal to you than he'll ever be. Like more loyal to the
Yeah.
brand, more loyal to you. And they don't know how to, they run it like a business. It's about a business that monetizes and, oh, well, we lost those. We'll find somebody to bring it back. But meanwhile, it could be a 6 month, year, 2 years until they get that back.
Yeah.
I think it's a bad look. I think that that should be enough of a motivator for the guy on the top that it's a bad look when his franchises are going out of business in certain areas, like Taco Bell or Blockbuster Video, or
Yeah,
it can be, or Pizza Hut. Like it can be catastrophic. You think Pizza Hut is like the king of pizza, and now all of a sudden it's a Chinese restaurant with a red roof.
I get
In
100.
every,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
crazy, but it's true. And that I think there is some soul searching that has to be done at the top. I've worked on both sides. I worked for at the corporate level of a big franchising organization, and I was a running a brokerage as a franchisee. I see both sides of it, and they would rather butt heads than work together. And listen, we're throwing all the franchisors out under the bus. There's a lot of great franchisors out there.
sure,
There's a lot of great franchisees, and everybody gets together and does business together with the best intentions. But, there's a reason you get that document at the beginning called the franchise disclosure document that is usually 600 to 700 pages that nobody reads. And when I was selling franchises and I was talking to people, I would say, this is your holy grail. The agreement's important, but this is your holy grail. This is the good, the bad, the ugly. You can call me all day long. I can tell you about the good, but I know you're not serious until you call me about the ugly. And that is true. You need to know what you're getting into. And I think that's, for many people, it's easier said than done, right? They don't want to read a document that's being presented to them, and they don't want to really take that next level step to make sure this is the right decision because they get excited about the decision.
I will defend the dreamers out there that sometimes the more you know, the less likely you are to take the leap. So it might
There's,
be better to not know all the ugly until later.
you're right. There is definitely truth, but I would say always when you're looking at a franchise, look at where the executive team came from. So that's number one. Definitely look at the lawsuits because the FTD always has the lawsuits. What were those lawsuits? Are they legitimate? And is that something that could happen to you? And number three is just do a simple Google search of franchisees in this business, in this industry, or in this brand, and you'll be surprised what you come back with.
Awesome.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
want
that's
you
good.
have to have a t-shirt that says, I know you're serious when you call me about the ugly.
That's
I
pretty
love
good. I
that so
like
much.
that.
As soon as you said it, I'm like, yes, there it is.
I
There's the
like that. That's
t-shirt.
pretty good. That's good. That'd be
You
funny.
can take that with you,
Right?
Guy. That's your
Yeah.
Yeah,
takeaway.
I like that.
Hey, and you said it. You're the genius. So,
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, I
Yeah,
can't
but
wait
you're
for
the
part two
marketing
already.
guru, so you told me I needed to put that on the t-shirts.
oh boy. Wow. This has
Oh,
been a really great conversation. And we have gotten to the point in the podcast where we need to ask you the question that the last guest has left.
Okay.
So, our last guest wants to know what is your next outreaching goal? And I think you did kind of touch on that, but I mean, if you could go even further into the future, what is it?
I think it's a scale to a point where we're, as an individual and a parent, that I have school completely paid for my kids, depending on where they want to go for college, and just be level set where my wife and I are on our terms and not on anybody else's terms. So I think that for me, from a personal perspective, and I think from a professional perspective, I want to be at a point where I'm working with enough clients per month that's pretty consistent and just building out those other potential revenue streams, which we all know is we're all dreamers, right? We're entrepreneurs for the most part are dreamers. So sometimes the hardest part is shutting off our own brain.
yeah.
And but I have an idea of where I want to be and what I want to do. And one thing we didn't really touch on is I love public speaking, and I used to do that a lot, but I didn't do it from a monetization perspective. I just did it because it was part of my job. And I love that. I love being in front of audiences, and I'm really trying to build that out too.
Can see
Awesome.
that you have a very natural ability when you speak. So I bet you that you're just fantastic on stage. And I bet you you're a storyteller. And
I
I think
love
because
stories.
you have so many perspectives, you're involved in so many different ways, and you understand that resource is not just money, but time and ability and gift. So I think that what you would bring to the table would be really game changing, especially when you're talking about getting to the top, re-educating, restructuring the culture of everything. So is it hard for you to like turn it back on yourself and build those systems for you? Is it easier for you to do that for other people?
I think when I started out, it was difficult. I'm getting a lot better at it in terms of building out systems, and my calendar is everything to me. And it's like, that's so bad, right? I mean, who wants to be a slave to the calendar? But it is, right? And so I really like time block and make sure that I get to what I need. As a fractional COO, I could wake up this morning and say, I'm going to work on this for this client today and have it all scheduled. But then another client calls me with a out of the blue request or something that's going on that needs immediate attention, and then I have to pivot, right? So for me, I just have to have an idea of where I am in my day at all times.
Yeah, that's the thing that Alex and I have found is that it's so much easier to use our gift for others than it is to use it on ourselves. And that's always kind of like the tell for me that, oh,
Right.
okay, I'm tapped into the right thing.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, we essentially we're givers, right? So I say the three of us are givers, and we don't really take a lot, but we need to be we it doesn't hurt to have the opportunity to kind of do some introspection on ourselves and business plan for ourselves and say, where that was a great question that the last guest asked, like, where do I see myself? Where do I want to be? And we should be asking that of ourselves every single day, or not every single
Hmm.
day, but it should be a constant theme in terms of who we want to be and what we want to do. Are you got with your podcast? You do your podcasts all on specific days, or do you bounce around? Is it like Thursday, Wednesday of every month, or
Oh, we bounce around. It's usually in the early afternoons. Not on. We try not to do it on Fridays. We actually try not to have any meetings on Fridays. Like Friday is actually like a sacred day for us. I love
good?
Fridays and Saturdays. I don't mind working on Sunday, but Friday and Saturday, it's like I love not working on Friday because everybody else is, and we're doing our own thing. And then Saturday, I really like taking Saturday off a lot. And then I have zero guilt working on Sunday.
That's
I'm a little
good.
bit different like that, but yeah, it's cool. And Monday too. Monday's usually pretty light. Well, but we'll pack Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday with meetings and podcasts. And then this podcast drops every Wednesday morning. So watch for this
That's
podcast
good.
in a few weeks.
That's good.
Right.
Yeah, I think my Friday tends to be a little bit lighter unless there's a pressing need, and I try to get a little bit done on Saturday. I usually write my newsletter for LinkedIn on Saturday, and then Sunday I'm tinkering a little bit, but I think my commitment on Sunday is going to get a little bit greater.
Oh, okay. Let's get to, so what's going to be your question for the next guest?
All right. I don't want to use a question that anybody else has ever used. So,
Usually
um,
it's very intuitive and theme appropriate to the guest.
so I would ask, what was for the next guest, what was your aha moment to say, I needed to transition out and be an entrepreneur? If the next guest, are all your guests entrepreneurs?
The next one should be, yeah.
Okay.
Unless it's, yeah, no, I don't think we have Ronald McDonald until like 3 weeks from now, right?
Yeah. So is that a good
No.
question?
That's a
Right?
Love.
great
Like
question.
there's usually something that happens, right? That triggers. And I always find that
Yeah.
fascinating. Like when I always, the two of you are so inquisitive and great podcast hosts. I love the two of you, but you're like me, like you're just inquisitive. Like what got you to where you are, right? And I
Yeah.
find other people's stories fascinating.
I think that's
I
why we
just,
podcast. We always steal these little bits of gold, and I'm like, oh man, I could totally feel like the love and the interesting moments from you. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. It's like this, I'm taking this for me. So there's a little bit of a soul thing that's like, oh man, that just lit up my heart. So there's a few times, especially at the beginning, talking about giving back and how important that is. And to me, that's my theme for this week. So it's really interesting that you said that gratitude and giving have been huge this week. So I'm working on some stuff with my youngest daughter, how we can start volunteering more in
oh,
our
that's awesome.
community and things like that together because I want to get her out and giving more. And yeah, so it's cool that you said that. And it's like, okay, that's just confirmation. So much of
Yeah.
our podcast is intuitive, and these things they come in for a reason, and we totally pay attention to that. So it's not
And
an accident you
that's
were with
great.
us today.
And you let her come up with the idea. I think if she comes up with the idea, that'd be great, right? And it could be something as simple as let's go to the town and see if we could paint the two park benches or something. Like, how cool would that be, right? Like, it's just like it's your child stepping up. Wow, that's impactful, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah,
Percent.
yeah. Well, Guy, I just want to remind everybody to come see you at the CEOguy.com. I cannot believe that I missed the guy part. The pun on that is just what? I'm like, I can't believe that. But it's honestly, it was such a pleasure to have you on. I hope that we can have you back on again and have some more stories and get a little bit more of that soul payment with you. And it's really good to have you on with us and for myself and for Katia and for everybody at home listening. Just we want to say thank you and we appreciate you spending this time with us. And we'll see you on the next episode, everybody.
Yeah.
Keep living your
I,
genius.